One of the best ways to increase the response rate that you get from cold email is, of course, personalization. But the challenge is, how do you do that at scale? So I'm going to show you a really simple technique that you can use to do personalization at scale, and it has nothing to do with the copyright. It all happens at the list building stage. So let's say, for the sake of this example, that I am an email copywriter and I like working with e-commerce companies. What I could do, and what most people do, is they just build the biggest list possible of all the e-commerce companies. That's fine, but there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of e-commerce companies, and that's going to make personalization really hard, if not impossible. It's like, yes, you could go through one by one and come up with something unique to say to each of them, and that would work very well, but it's also going to be insanely resource intensive. So the method that I prefer is to build micro lists of subsegments of my market. So here's one way you might do that. You can start with a typical search that includes the job titles you're going after, the employee count, location, whatever your typical parameters are. But then we're going to do something extra with the industry section. So here I'm going to pretend like within e-commerce, I want to target specifically skincare brands. So in this case, I've included the industry health, wellness, and fitness, but more importantly are the keywords that I'm targeting. So you could potentially even remove this and see what happens to your search results. Now, these are probably going to be lower quality on average, so I'm going to keep the industry in, but you could test it both ways and see what sort of results come up. So let's actually put this back in, health, wellness, and fitness. Magic happens at the keyword level. So these are include keywords. This is an OR function, so if it has any one of these keywords, I would make sure not to have the include all button checked, because then it's only for the businesses who have all of these keywords essentially in their SEO metadata, possibly their profile. And a couple of these keywords are doing most of the heavy lifting, probably skincare and cosmetics. Whereas, let's say if I remove wrinkles from this, you'll probably see not a big difference. So two records. That means there are only 2 companies that had the word wrinkles, say in their SEO metadata, that didn't also have one of these other terms. Probably skincare, probably cosmetics, or one or the other. So this is something that you have to play around with, and you really have to know the subsegment that you're going after and what words they're going to use. But that's, if you know your audience, that's something that you either should know or should be able to find out really easily. But the result is, okay, I have 3,738 contacts now that I can reach out to. And when I do, I'm going to say, hey, I work with, or I help skincare companies or cosmetic companies do whatever it is that I'm promising. Double their revenue from email or whatever it's going to be. The point, and then the next thing I'm going to do is, because I've targeted so narrowly, I'm either going to bring in my own case studies of skincare companies that I've worked with and the results that I've gotten, or I'm going to use examples of big players in the space, things that they're doing right, that my target company or my target audience here probably isn't doing, and use that as my in. With that, now I have, without one-to-one level specificity, I have so much specificity that this is going to dramatically increase my response rate. Might be 50% higher, it might be double, triple. You would go from, say, a 1% response rate to 4 or 5% response rate, like positive response rate, just by doing something like this. So personalization, if you can get it to the one-to-one level, obviously that's the gold standard. This is pretty much the next best thing. And really all we're doing here is it's a display of understanding, right? When you receive a cold email, as the recipient, you want to know, like, does this person even understand what I do and how they can help? Or are they just emailing everyone and hoping for an opportunity, right? So you want to come in and be the person who displays that you get it. And this is a really easy way to do that. So try this out. Obviously, depending on the industry that you're in, you might have more records, fewer records. You might swap out this industry. You might not include an industry. You might have more or fewer keywords to use. You might also include some exclude keywords in order to make sure that you stay away from certain things that you don't want to deal with. But in general, this technique of using keywords to narrow your focus with the understanding that now you're going to be able to speak to these people specifically in your cold email scripts. That is the marriage that you're looking for. That's going to dramatically increase your response rate without having to do any manual searching through your list for unique things to say or any weird copywriting tricks. So try this out. Hope it works for you. Let me know how it goes.